Alright, so here we are, the very last video of the trip, and this is my art final video. So I'm gonna answer some of these questions, and got it here scripted out. So, what is the difference in art and non-art? Well, art is really subjective, and you can have beautiful masterpieces painted and considered to be art, and then you also have things like the toilet bowl with black graffiti that is considered art, which was in, I think, the Tate Modern Museum, and then they had another version of it in, I think it was the Pompidou Museum. I believe that the difference between art and non-art is how the object impacts its audience. Does it impact the audience really? It can make you think or it can bring out emotions, but the ultimate goal is to connect and to inspire people and leave an impact on the world. If it does that, then it's considered art. How is seeing art in person instead of a book different for me? Well, when it came to the paintings, really, there was no difference. Honestly, it hit me that I was there in touching distance of such a work of art, and I could see every brushstroke, which was amazing. But it really didn't impact me that much. What really did impact me though was the sculptures and the artifacts at like the British Museum and the Louvre. Um, I was taken away by all of those and the amount of details that you can see. The fact that I was there, right there with history in front of me, it really left me in awe. Um, and getting to see every bit of it, and just thinking about how that was that particular time period. Like the one for me that really I really enjoyed were the Viking artifacts and the Anglo-Saxon artifacts. I really connect with that side of history, that part of history, and that part of my family because we have some Scandinavian blood and some very Anglo-Saxon blood in our genes. So I really connect to that. I thought that was amazing to be right there with it. It kind of made me feel like I was a part of the past when I was in those museums. Um, when asked what do I think about people risking their lives for some of the art that I've seen, it's insane, honestly. But I understand why. I understand the importance to document and maintain history and culture. Um, I feel that we need to remember these things in order to improve ourselves as well as our understanding of ourselves. However, I myself would never personally do such a thing for like the paintings or the sculptures. However, when it comes to like the scrolls, such as like the Book of the Dead, which I'll be doing my informative speech on, um, those particular artifacts, which are smaller, easier to carry, and actually tell stories and processes of what's happened or um, and all that. I think those are important documents, and I probably would have, if they were in a reasonable, I guess, or if I was in a reasonable situation to grab it real fast and risk my life over it, I would probably save those. And as for the rest, not so much. Um, the moments that I experienced wonder, I don't know about this one. This one was really hard. Um, a lot of the times in London and even in Paris, it kind of just never really hit me that I was like, there were moments where it hit me where I wasn't in the States, but I kind of just felt like I had been a part of the area for a while. Paris, not so much. London, I definitely felt like I was really, really a part of London already. It helped that I was here a few days before the actual classes began and everything. But even before then, like the first day that I touched down, it was a little like odd for me, but I definitely felt really connected with the city as soon as those like first like moments of oh where's this where's that how does this work thing how to after all those moments passed. I would probably say the biggest experience of like wonder was the Eiffel Tower at night. It never really hit me that I was in Paris really, besides everything else. Like it just never really like hit me emotionally that I was in Paris until we took the river cruise and I was right up there next to the Eiffel Tower. It was all lit up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, wow, this I'm here. This has been created by man. Like this is insane." Um, I think that was probably the one of the biggest moments of wonder. And then seeing all the artifacts, like the Assyrian artifacts, and sculptures, and uh, how all of that, a lot of those details were very, very fine. And you never really learned so much about Assyrian sculpture work in class, at least in the classes that I've been in. So I was kind of in wonder about that because I'd never realized how detailed their sculptures were. And to me, it's kind of crazy how they were overlooked, especially since a lot of their details were even better than Egyptian. Um, when it came to how I think that this trip and the experience will affect my future self and why, I think it all just comes down to it really opened my eyes up more um, on what it's like over here in Europe, and even just how different London and Paris themselves are from one another. I already knew going in that Paris would be very different, um, but I had done a lot of research and video watching of how Paris really is, or supposedly really is. And I was kind of taken aback whenever we were there, and it really wasn't anything like I had researched. Um, Honestly, Paris was kind of a letdown for me. Besides certain aspects, I was expecting the food to be amazing, um, and um, you know, I knew that the people were going to be kind of rude, but especially to outsiders. But I was always told if you at least try to speak French or whatnot, they'll be more than happy to help you out. I only had two good interactions when I was there. Um, so, and that's even coming from someone who actually knows enough French and actually pronounces the French words pretty close to how they pronounce it. Um, I mean, I still had a pretty bad experience with people there. So I think it just, if I plan on going to a country that's really proud of their country, just like Americans and like the French are, maybe invest a little bit more time in becoming more fluent in the language. That's always been my goal whenever I travel, but it definitely opened my eyes up to like how I should be even more um, focused on that part. Um, Another part of the experience, the learning outcome, Google Maps. It's actually pretty damn helpful whenever you're traveling the streets. Um, if it wasn't for Google Maps, I don't know if we would have done so well in Paris at all, really. Uh, um, and I guess probably the other thing about it is it helped me. This experience really helped me um, think more critically on my feet and take more risks than I normally do. I'm already a very critical thinker. I already think quickly on my feet, especially when in tight situations. Um, and it still improved that ability, really. Yeah, it definitely improved that. Can't really can't really go into further detail about that. But when it comes to risk taking, I'm not really too much of a risk taker, but this trip definitely helped me become more of a risk taker. I don't always like to play it safe, but I like to weigh the balance, like weigh out um, the risks and everything, and make sure, hey, if seems reasonable, then I'll do it. If it seems pretty far fetched, I'm not going to do it. I'll do what I know best. But here, it was pretty much just risk taking every day. Everything was, you never know what's going to happen. So it definitely helped me in that aspect, and it really has made my love for travel even greater. I already really wanted to travel even more so before I came here, but now that I've done all of this traveling, and even with the not so great experience in Paris, I still really want to do a lot more traveling in places that I'm not too familiar with. Sorry, that was pizza. Room service, that's great. I feel like I'm doing a vlog here. As for the very last question, scrapbook stuff. Yeah, to be honest, I think I vaguely recall something happening towards the last few days of about gathering scrapbook information. I didn't. I threw it all away. I was trying to lighten my load with traveling, and I threw a lot of the papers and stuff. I was like, oh, I don't need this. I don't need this. I'm going to throw it all away. However, I do have some things I can share, and I'm not good with photo editing, so with videos and whatnot, and I'm really technology stupid, technologically impaired. So I'm, especially since I don't have an actual computer with me. It's just my phone. I don't really have the ability to do a video editing thing. And if I do, I don't know what app to use. But I'll show you some of the things that I picked up. So here is one of the little mementos that I picked up in Paris that I'm actually really in love with. Um, not sure who painted it, but it's really cute. I love it. It'll remind me of my trip here in Paris a lot. It was only like €3, which isn't bad. It's cute. And actually, I think it'll kind of help me inspire to do a little bit more of my own painting again, because I've honestly taken a really long break from painting and drawing. So seeing this really just makes me like want to go back to painting, and maybe even paint some of the things that I see while I'm on the trip. I also have some papyrus from the National British Museum, because I love Egypt and I love papyrus. And fun fact about my love of papyrus, I used to pretty much do the same process. I was so obsessed with Egypt that I used to do the same process that they did with papyrus, but instead of using reeds, I would use like leaves and blades of grass to create my own paper. And me and my cousin created our own alphabet, and we would like make our own paper the same way that Egyptians did papyrus, and we would like write notes to each other with our alphabet that we created. Good times, good times. Um, Another thing, this one's a big one. This bag of receipts and tags of all the shit that I bought. Um, Pardon my French. Yeah, I've held on to all of these receipts and tags because I'm thinking about what is it, reclaiming on the way back or whatever it's called, the taxes. Um, I bought a lot, but I came in knowing that I had, I packed only half my suitcase so the other half could be used for bringing stuff back. And I came in with the extra spending money that I worked my butt off for to save, so I could have some fun here in Europe. I always love European fashion. I already kind of dressed it in a European fashion way, so actually getting more stuff from here was honestly great. I got things like cologne, um, Zara cologne. I love Zara. I fell in love with Zara once I got here. Garmin leather and tobacco, amazing scents. Behind me here, I have a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of clothing. Um, do a little quick show and tell. Got some fancy dress pants, and we have a nice leather jacket. You don't want to know how much I paid for this. Have another one. You also don't want to know how much I paid for this. And then I have nice shirts, cute little shorts, more shirts, all the shirts. I even bought a pair of shoes. This one's kind of one of my new favorites now, a little dress shirt. I'm probably going to wear that. I'm actually still here in Europe. I'll be here in Europe until the 11th. I'm going to Scotland tomorrow, and then I'll be going to Northern Ireland, and then I'll be heading back to Heathrow, and I'll be heading back to work to make up for all the money that I've gathered and spent on this trip. Oh, I also have one of my little tickets still that I honestly forgot to throw away because I originally threw away all my other tickets, but I didn't throw this one away because it happened to be snuck behind one of my credit cards. Other than that, yeah, I think that's about it. I don't really have too much else to show and tell. All the other money that I spent on was on food. Um, Didn't even buy any other really souvenirs. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. This turned into a long video. Cheers.